to prepare a pharaoh for eternity. Egyptian priests pushed to hook up his nose, scrambled his brain, and pulled it out in pieces. Then they threw it away. They kept the heart, the liver, the lungs, the stomach, but the brain, they thought, was useless. Ancient Egypt lasted 3,000 years, longer than the time between Cleopatra and you, and almost everything about daily life there would get you arrested, hospitalized, or worshipped today. 20 things that were completely normal in ancient Egypt, and completely insane now. Subscribe, let's go. Number 1. They threw the brain away and saved the heart. To an Egyptian, the heart was where thought, memory, emotion, and the soul lived. The brain was packing material. So the heart stayed in the body for the journey to the afterlife, and the brain was pulled out through the nostril and discarded. For 3,000 years, the most advanced civilization on Earth believed you think with your chest. Number 2. The rest of the organs went into jars, and each jar had a god assigned to guard it. The lungs, liver, stomach, and intestines were removed, dried, and sealed into 4 canopic jars, each protected by one of the 4 sons of Horus. Your body was not buried, it was disassembled, distributed, and issued security. Number 3. Bodies were buried in salt for 40 days before the funeral. Natron, a natural salt from the desert lakes, was packed into and around the body to draw out every trace of moisture. Only after 40 days of drying did the wrapping begin. The whole process, death to tomb, took 70 days. Your funeral was a 2.5-month project. Number 4. Your heart was going to be weighed against a feather. In the afterlife, the god Anubis placed your heart on a scale against the feather of Mot, the goddess of truth. If your heart was lighter, you passed into eternity. If it was heavier, weighed down by your sins, a creature called Ammit, part crocodile, part lion, part hippo, ate it. And you simply ceased to exist, not hell, deletion. That's how they treated the dead. Now, here's how they lived. Number 5. Their pregnancy test was to pee on a bag of seeds, and it actually worked. A woman would urinate on barley and wheat over several days. If the seeds sprouted, she was pregnant. If the barley sprouted first, they predicted a boy. Wheat, a girl. Here's the part that should not be true. When modern scientists tested it, the seeds sprouted for pregnant women roughly 70% of the time. Elevated hormones in the urine really do accelerate germination. They stumbled onto a working hormone test 4,000 years before we understood hormones. Number 6. The famous black eye makeup was medicine. Kohl wasn't just style. The lead-based compounds in it, in the tiny doses used, appear to have triggered the body's own immune response in the eye, helping fight off the bacterial infections that thrived in the Nile Valley. It also cut the desert glare like an athlete's eye black. Egyptian eyeliner with sunglasses, antibiotics, and fashion at once. Number 7. They treated wounds with honey and moldy bread. Honey is genuinely antibacterial. It dehydrates bacteria and produces hydrogen peroxide, and moldy bread carries the same family of fungi that gave us penicillin. Egyptian doctors had no idea why any of it worked. They just knew it did. They were using antibiotics 3,500 years before Fleming named them. Number 8. Doctors were specialists. Extremely specialists. The Greek historian Herodotus visited Egypt and wrote in astonishment that their medicine was divided so finely that each physician treated one disease and one only. Eye doctors, tooth doctors, stomach doctors. There was, reportedly, a physician whose entire practice was the anus. Specialization is not a modern invention, it is a 4,000-year-old Egyptian one. Number 9. The pyramid workers were paid in bread and beer, several liters a day, each. Egyptian beer was thick, low alcohol, and nutritious, closer to a liquid loaf than a lager. It was a wage, a food, and a water substitute all at once because the Nile was not always safe to drink. The Great Pyramid was, quite literally, built on beer. Number 10. They were not slaves. This is the myth that will not die. The pyramids were built by paid Egyptian laborers, organized into crews with names, housed in a purpose-built town, fed a state ration, given medical care, and buried with honor in tombs beside the pyramid they built. We know because we found their village, their bakeries, and their skeletons, many showing healed bones, set by doctors. You do not set the broken arm of a slave. Number 11. And when the state was late with their pay, they staged the first recorded labor strike in human history. In the reign of Ramses III, the tomb builders of Deir el-Medina did not receive their grain rations. So they walked off the job, sat down at the temple, and refused to work until they were paid. It is written down. It is the oldest strike on record. The workers who built eternity invented the walkout. Number 12. The most powerful career move in Egypt was learning to write. Scribes were exempt from manual labor, exempt from taxes, and exempt from military service. Fathers pushed sons into scribe school the way modern parents push medical school. One surviving text is literally a father lecturing his son on how every other job is misery. The potter is caked in clay, the fisherman stinks, the soldier dies, and how the scribe alone is free. Nagging your kid about their career is 4,000 years old. Now, we need to talk about the cats. Number 13. Killing a cat was punishable by death, and when the family cat died, everyone shaved their eyebrows. Cats were sacred to the goddess Bastet, and killing one even accidentally could get you executed by a mob before the state ever reached you. When a household cat died naturally, the entire family shaved their eyebrows and mourned until the hair grew back. Not a joke, a recorded custom. Ancient Egypt loved cats more than you do, and it wasn't close. Number 14. They mummified animals by the millions. Cats, ibises, crocodiles, baboons, bulls, even beetles. Some were beloved pets buried with their owners. But most were something stranger, mass-produced offerings, bred in temple farms specifically to be killed, mummified, and sold to pilgrims as prayers to the gods. Archaeologists have pulled millions of them out of the ground. It was an entire industry of devotional taxidermy. Number 15. The pharaoh's beard was fake. That long, narrow, braided beard on every statue and death mask was a ceremonial prop strapped to the chin, a symbol of divine kingship. Even Hatshepsut, one of Egypt's most successful rulers and a woman, is depicted wearing it. She was the pharaoh. The pharaoh wore the beard. Number 16. Egyptian women could own property, divorce, and sue, and often won. They could inherit land, run businesses, sign contracts, initiate divorce, and take a man to court as his legal equal. This was so far ahead of ancient Greece and Rome that Greek visitors wrote about Egyptian women with open disapproval. In the ancient world, Egypt was, by a wide margin, the best place to be born a woman. Number 17. They invented the 365-day year. By tracking the star Sirius and the annual flooding of the Nile, Egyptian astronomers built a solar calendar of 12 months, 30 days each, plus 5 extra days tacked on the end. It is the direct ancestor of the calendar on your wall. Their week, however, was 10 days long, which means the ancient Egyptian worked 8 days and rested 2. Their weekend was worse than yours. Number 18. Their bread was destroying their teeth. Egyptian flour was contaminated with sand and grit from the grinding stones in the desert wind. Every loaf was mildly abrasive. Over a lifetime, it ground their teeth down to stumps, even the pharaohs. Ramses II, the most powerful man in the world, died with abscesses, gum disease, and teeth worn to the root. Immortal on the temple walls. In agony at the dinner table. Number 19. At parties, guests wore cones of scented fat on their heads and let them melt. As the evening went on, body heat softened the perfumed cone, and it ran down the wig and shoulders, releasing fragrance and oiling the hair. A slow-release air freshener you wore on your skull. Historians still argue about exactly how it worked. The paintings are unambiguous that it happened. Number 20. And the one that breaks everybody's brain. Cleopatra lived closer in time to the moon landing than she did to the building of the Great Pyramid. The pyramid was already more than 2,000 years old when she was born, older to her than she is to us. She was not an ancient Egyptian looking up at a new wonder. She was a modern woman touring a ruin. Egypt was so old that its own most famous ruler was a tourist in it. Ancient Egypt lasted 3,000 years. It buried its dead in salt, weighed their hearts against a feather, threw their brains away, worshipped its cats, paid its workers in beer, and invented the calendar you're using right now. Most of it is gone, but it left the pyramids standing, and a civilization so long that Cleopatra herself looked back at its beginning the way we look back at hers. If you like the strange corners of history, subscribe. We're going deeper into Egypt next week, inside the tombs and the truth about the curse.